Well, finally, at long last, much to the relief of the normal people in the Democratic Party, the nomination finally goes to Joe Biden.
Yeah!
Do you remember when the so-called Democratic establishment was positively, absolutely in a tizzy over the prospect that Bernie Sanders, a self-described Democrat socialist, might get the nomination?
Oh my God! Don't cry, Constable.
I mean, Hillary still thinks Bernie is a big reason why she lost the election in 2016.
What do you think that he can do, whether he's the nominee or not nominee, to help get to that point of unifying people against Trump?
Well, he can do it, for one. That's not our experience from 2016. There was no question about who was going to be the nominee. But unfortunately, his campaign and his principal supporters were just very difficult and really constantly not just attacking me, but my supporters. It had an impact.
I mean, in 2016, Hillary did everything but everything to kill off Bernie. I mean, this is a 200-year-old guy who looks like he sleeps in his car, who had just had a heart attack, and she still could not finish him off. Talk about a dead ender. Of course, Hillary blamed everybody but the Great Pumpkin for why she lost in 2016. Here's the deal. Bernie Sanders did not want the first line of his obituary column to be, Bernie Sanders, twice failed candidate for president, twice failed to back up the eventual nominee of his party, leading that nominee to lose. He could not handle that. Now remember, at one time, Joe Biden was perceived by Bernie Sanders to be too establishment.
I made a little list of some of the things that have been central to your campaign, and I'm hoping you can let me know which of these you think could be part of a Biden administration. Universal health care is a biggie, free college for all, canceled college debt, national rent control, a ban on fracking, a wealth tax, marijuana legalization, a 50% reduction in the prison population. These are all things you've campaigned on that have made you popular. Joe Biden doesn't support any of them.
Hey, but all is forgiving because the common enemy is you-know-who.
I hesitate to say this because I really don't like to disparage public officials, but Donald Trump is a pathological liar.
Because it is absolutely imperative that we defeat Donald Trump, who in my view is the most dangerous, irresponsible president in the modern history of this country.
We are going to defeat the most dangerous president in the history of this country.
But now, as Bernie Sanders tells that well-known political pundit, Cardi B, yeah, that's right, Cardi B. Bernie tells Cardi B that he can now support Biden because he's pushed Biden to the left on issues like student debt.
Number one, if you can get into college, if you have the ability, you should be able to get a college education regardless of your income, and we're going to make public colleges and universities tuition free. Second thing, to answer your question, we are going to cancel all student debt in America. Now, how can we do that? We're going to do all of that by putting a very modest tax on Wall Street speculation.
Now, all of this stuff, of course, is paid for by taxes on the rich. Does Bernie have any idea what his interviewer Cardi B once said about taxes on the rich? Oh yeah.
You know what I hate? I hate when celebrities do something very extravagant, buy something very luxurious. There's people in the comments like, you could have donated that, or we going backwards, you could have done this and that with your money. And it's like, who are you to tell people what to do with their hard work money? First of all, do you know that artists, celebrities, the IRS, out of every check that you make, they automatically take 45% of your check. That means in order to spend $500,000, you gotta make at least $1 million. Then like an artist like me and a lot of rappers that I know, they literally take care of their whole family. And that's not tax deductible because the IRS don't consider that a business. On top of that, being an artist, looking good for y'all, doing all this extra to please y'all, that costs money. Like me, for example, my bills is like, I'll say about $300,000, $250,000 every single month. And I try to put it cheaper and it's not.
Don't tell Bernie. Now this brings us to Biden's endorsements from Elizabeth Warren, Amy Klobuchar, and Kamala Harris. Remember, Biden promised to have a female as his running mate.
If I'm elected president, my cabinet, my administration will look like the country. And I commit that I will, in fact, I'll pick a woman to be vice president. There are a number of women who are qualified to be president tomorrow. I would pick a woman to be my vice president.
Condescending, paternalistic, insulting, but whatever. Now notice he said he wants a female running mate. He did not say a female of color, but that apparently is what Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez heard.
Vice President Biden's been very clear that he plans to pick a female vice president. You're not old enough to be eligible to run with him, but do you have any suggestions for a female vice president, someone that you'd like to see on your party's ticket?
I think what's incredible is that we have a lot of talented women of color who are leaders in this country.
So if his female running mate is white, as far as AOC is concerned, it's still two white people on the ticket, right? Now, at one time, Joe Biden had some pretty serious policy differences with Elizabeth Warren, and Kamala Harris all but called him a bigot. Let's start with Warren.
And their feud appears far from over. In an unusual move, Warren openly criticizing Biden last week on the same day he launched his campaign.
At a time when the biggest financial institutions in this country were trying to put the squeeze on millions of hardworking families, Joe Biden is on the side of the credit card companies.
The ideological differences are sharp. Warren, a leader of the progressive movement, with a campaign built around tackling corruption and taking on the rich and the powerful.
We are going to fight for working people. We're going to build a grassroots movement.
But that was so then.
Among all the other candidates I competed with in the Democratic primary, there's no one I've agreed with 100% of the time over the years. But one thing I appreciate about Joe Biden is he will always tell you where he stands. When you disagree, he'll listen.
When he disagrees, he'll listen.
So how do you explain the performance in Iowa, and why should the voters believe that you can win the national election?
It's a good question. Number one, Iowa's a Democratic caucus. You ever been to a caucus? No, you haven't. You're a lying dog-faced pony soldier. You said you were, but now you got to be honest. I'm going to be honest with you.
When he disagrees, he'll listen. When he agrees, it's a little different.
We've made to care for our seniors. It says that 10 years from now, if you're a 65-year-old who's eligible for Medicare, you should have to pay nearly $6,400 more than you would today. It says instead of guaranteed health care, you will get a voucher. And if that voucher isn't worth enough to buy the insurance that's available in the open marketplace, well, tough luck. You're on your own.
This brings us to Kamala Harris, who at one time called Joe Biden a bigot.
Do you agree today that you were wrong to oppose busing in America then?
No.
Do you agree?
I did not oppose busing in America. What I opposed is busing ordered by the Department of Education That's what I opposed.
Well,
I
there
did
was
not
a
oppose.
failure of states to integrate public schools in America.
I always thought it was weird that she went after him on this busing position decades old when she could have gone after him for the fact that Joe Biden has padded, if not fabricated, if not lied about his civil rights record for decades.
Well, I got my education, Reverend Doc, in the black church. Not a joke. Because when we used to get organized on Sundays to go out and desegregate movie theaters and things like that, we'd do it through the black church.
When I marched in the civil rights movement, I did not march with a 12-point program. I marched with tens of thousands of others to change attitudes.
When I was 17 years old, like many of you, I participated in sit-ins to desegregate the restaurants and movie houses of Wilmington, Delaware.
And the New York Times reports, quote, more than once, advisors had gently reminded Mr. Biden of the problem with this formulation. He had not actually marched during the civil rights movement, and more than once, Mr. Biden assured them that he understood and kept telling the story anyway.
Say it ain't so, Joe.
But now Kamala Harris is on Team Biden. Never mind, Team Biden is led by a man she once called a racist.
I just wanted you guys to know I have decided that I am, with great enthusiasm, going to endorse Joe Biden for President of the United States. I believe in Joe. I really believe in him, and I have known him for a long time.
Hey, some days you're a racist, some days you're not. This brings us to his most important endorsement, of course, Barack Obama.
Election year, the choice is clear. One man stands ready to deliver change we desperately need. A man I'm proud to call my friend. A man who will be the next president of the United States, Barack America.
America, Obama, you say tomato, I say tomato. Obama, according to the book Game Change, about the 2008 campaign, said this about his running mate. How many times is Joe Biden going to say something stupid? End of quote. Obama also reportedly talked Joe Biden out of running in 2016 and reportedly tried to talk him out of running in 2020. But now?
For those of us who love this country and are willing to do our part to make sure it lives up to its highest ideals, now's the time to fight for what we believe in. So join us. Join Joe.
Well, they're all coming together, aren't they? Here's the problem. Joe Biden remains Joe Biden.
And I think it's a mistake to pull out the small number of troops. The reason he made the strike was because our embassies were about to be bombed. I would not meet with absent preconditions instead of poking our eye and poking our finger in the eye of all our friends by stealing our intellectual property, their corporate state system to our significant disadvantage of anyone running up here in this race. Reduce the cost of drug prices. It allows all the drug companies it allows you to Medicare to negotiate. There should be free universal infant care, but here's the deal. Over 500 miles a day, 250 miles a day. There's no choice but for Nancy Pelosi that I think about the American people. I headed up the Recovery Act, which put more money into moving away from fossil fuels to solar and wind energy.
Finally, in this era of coronavirus, the mayor of Los Angeles, where I live, has issued an order to wear a face mask, a homemade face mask. Anything would work. A scarf, a bandana, even a necktie. Well, maybe not that necktie. I'm Larry Elder, and we've got a country to save. I'll see you next time.